The wind howled like a hungry wolf, a fitting soundtrack to the harsh landscape of the American West. Our story begins not with a bang, but with the quiet grit of determination etched on the face of Jedediah Jed Stone. He wasn't a gunslinger, nor a gambler, but a rancher, a man of the earth, his hands calloused from years of hard work under the unforgiving sun. Jed's ranch, nestled beside the winding Green River, wasn't much to look at. A modest cabin, a sturdy barn, and acres of grazing land. But it was his. He'd inherited it from his father, and he poured his heart and soul into keeping it afloat. He was known throughout the small town of Harmony Gulch for his quiet strength and unwavering honesty. Folks trusted Jed. He was the kind of man who'd give you the shirt off his back, even if it was the only one he owned. He lived a solitary life, his only companions the cattle he tended and the occasional visit from his neighbor, Old Man Hemlock. Jed wasn't lonely, not exactly. He found solace in the rhythm of ranch life. The sunrise, the chores, the sunset. But deep down, he yearned for something more, a connection, a family. Jed wasn't a talkative man, but his actions spoke volumes. If a neighbor needed help mending a fence, Jed was there. If a calf strayed too far from the herd, Jed would track it down, no matter how long it took. He was a man of few words, but his word was his bond. He was a pillar of the community, a silent guardian watching over Harmony Gulch. Little did he know, the quiet life he cherished was about to be turned upside down by two sisters and a raging river. As Jed tended to his cattle that morning, two figures were making their way toward Harmony Gulch. Lily, the elder sister at 19, possessed a sharp mind and a determined spirit, hidden beneath her practical calico dress. Her brown hair was pulled back in a severe bun, but her eyes, the color of warm honey, sparkled with intelligence. She clutched a worn leather-bound book, a relic from her father, filled with legal knowledge and wisdom. Rose, 2 years younger, was a whirlwind of artistic energy. Her fiery red hair, often escaping its braids, framed a face sprinkled with freckles. She saw the world in colors and shapes, sketching constantly in her small notebook. While Lily carried the weight of responsibility, Rose carried the light of creativity. They were orphans, their parents having succumbed to illness back east. With little more than the clothes on their backs and a covered wagon filled with meager belongings, they had embarked on a journey westward, seeking a new beginning. They dreamed of opening a small dress shop, Lily managing the business and Rose designing the clothes. It was a daunting prospect, but they were determined to make it work. Their parents had always told them stories of the West, of opportunity and adventure. Now, facing the vast, untamed land, they clung to that hope. They knew the journey would be hard, but they had each other. Lily was Rose's protector, and Rose was Lily's inspiration. As they neared Harmony Gulch, a sense of nervous excitement filled the air. They were one step closer to their dream, one step closer to building a new life from the ashes of the old. Little did they know, their path was about to intersect with Jed's in a way neither of them could have imagined. The sky, once a brilliant blue, began to darken ominously. Heavy clouds rolled in, swallowing the sun and casting an eerie shadow over the land. A low rumble echoed in the distance, growing louder with each passing moment. Lily, ever the pragmatist, urged Rose to hurry. They needed to reach higher ground, and fast. They were still a few miles from Harmony Gulch, following a narrow trail that ran alongside the Green River. The river, usually a gentle stream, was now churning with a restless energy, reflecting the growing storm clouds above. Rain began to fall, first in scattered drops, then in a torrential downpour. The wind picked up, whipping around them, threatening to tear the canvas cover from their wagon. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning split the sky, followed by a deafening clap of thunder. The horses pulling their wagon whinnied in fear, their hooves slipping on the muddy ground. The river, swollen by the sudden downpour, began to overflow its banks. The trail was quickly disappearing beneath the rising water. "Lily, I am scared," Rose cried, her voice barely audible above the roar of the storm. "Lily, though frightened herself, tried to remain calm. "We'll be all right, Rose. We just need to keep moving." But it was too late. The river surged forward, a raging torrent of brown water, sweeping over the trail and surrounding their wagon. The wagon lurched violently, tilting precariously on the edge of the swollen riverbank. They were trapped. The water was rising rapidly, threatening to engulf them completely. Fear gripped them both, a cold, paralyzing dread. Their new beginning was turning into a terrifying end. They could only pray that someone would find them before it was too late. The storm raged on, indifferent to their plight. Back at the ranch, Jed was securing his livestock, battling against the fierce wind and rain. He knew the Green River could be treacherous during a storm, remembering tales his father had told him of past floods. As he finished securing the last of the animals, a faint sound pierced through the howling wind, a desperate cry for help. He paused, straining to hear over the storm's fury. There it was again, a woman's voice filled with terror. Jed didn't hesitate. He knew someone was in trouble. He grabbed his trusty rope and saddled his strongest horse, a sturdy Appaloosa named Spirit. Riding against the storm was like battling a living beast. The wind tore at him, the rain stung his eyes, and Spirit struggled to maintain his footing on the slippery ground. Jed urged him onward, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. He followed the sound of the cries, his instincts guiding him through the blinding rain. Finally, he saw them. The covered wagon, teetering precariously on the riverbank, half submerged in the raging water. He could see two figures clinging to the wagon's canvas cover, their faces pale with fear. Without a second thought, Jed spurred Spirit into the churning water. The river was a maelstrom, pulling and pushing against them. Spirit fought valiantly, his powerful legs churning through the water. Jed knew one wrong move could mean disaster. He focused on reaching the wagon, his eyes fixed on the terrified faces of the two women. He had to reach them. He had to save them. It was a fight against nature itself, but Jed was not one to back down from a challenge, especially when lives were at stake. Reaching the wagon was a monumental task. The current threatened to pull Spirit and Jed downstream, away from the sisters. Jed fought against the relentless force, inching closer with each surge. He could see the fear etched on Lily and Rose's faces, their eyes wide with desperation. "Grab the rope," Jed yelled, his voice strained against the roar of the river. He tossed the rope towards them. Lily, with trembling hands, managed to catch it. "Tie it tight," Jed instructed. Lily secured the rope around the wagon's frame. Jed then urged Spirit closer, until he was within arm's reach of the sisters. "I'll take you one at a time," he shouted. "Rose, you're first." Rose hesitated, terrified of letting go of the wagon. "I can't," she cried. "You have to trust me," Jed said, his voice firm but reassuring. "I won't let you fall." Lily gently pushed Rose forward. "He's right, Rose. We have to trust him." With a deep breath, Rose reached for Jed. He grabbed her firmly, pulling her onto Spirit's back. He held her tight, shielding her from the worst of the storm. Then, he turned Spirit back towards the shore, fighting against the current. It was a slow, agonizing journey, but finally they reached solid ground. He helped Rose dismount, then turned back to face the raging river again. He had to go back for Lily. The storm showed no signs of letting up, and the wagon looked increasingly unstable. He knew time was running out. He steeled his resolve and urged Spirit back into the churning water, ready to face the river's fury once more. He wouldn't rest until both sisters were safe. The rescue of Lily was even more perilous. The wagon was listing further, threatening to capsize completely. Lily clung to the frame, her face pale and her body shivering uncontrollably. Jed reached her just as the wagon gave a final, sickening lurch. He grabbed her, pulling her on his Spirit with a strength born of desperation. The journey back to shore felt like an eternity. The river raged around them, but Jed held firm, his focus unwavering. Finally, they reached the safety of the bank, where Rose waited anxiously. Jed helped Lily dismount, and the sisters embraced, tears streaming down their faces. They were safe, thanks to Jed's bravery. Thank you, Lily whispered, her voice choked with emotion. You saved our lives. Jed simply nodded, his own relief evident. Come on, he said. Let's get you both back to the ranch. You need to get warm and dry. He helped them onto Spirit, and they rode back to the ranch, the storm slowly beginning to subside. When they arrived, Jed quickly ushered them inside, starting a fire in the hearth. He gave them blankets and hot coffee, the warmth slowly returning color to their cheeks. The sisters huddled by the fire, grateful for the warmth and safety. They looked around the modest cabin, taking in the simple furnishings and the comforting atmosphere. Jed's ranch wasn't much, but was a haven from the storm, a sanctuary from the raging river. They knew they owed him everything. As the fire crackled and the storm raged outside, a sense of peace settled over them. They were safe, and for the first time in a long time, they felt a glimmer of hope for the future. The raging waters had brought them together, and what happened next would change all three of their lives forever. The next morning, the storm had passed, leaving a clear, sunny sky in its wake. The Green River, though still swollen, was slowly returning to its normal course. Lily and Rose, feeling rested and grateful, were determined to repay Jed for his kindness. We want to help, Lily said to Jed as he prepared breakfast. We can't just sit here and do nothing. Jed, though initially hesitant, relented. He could certainly use the help. The storm had left a lot of damage in its wake, and he was already behind on his chores. Lily proved to be surprisingly capable in the kitchen, quickly mastering the art of making flapjacks and brewing strong coffee. Rose, with her artistic eye, helped organize the cluttered cabin, bringing a sense of order and beauty to the simple space. As they worked alongside Jed, a bond began to form. Lily admired Jed's quiet strength and unwavering work ethic. Rose was drawn to his gentle nature and the way he treated his animals with such care. Jed, in turn, was captivated by Lily's intelligence and Rose's infectious enthusiasm. They spent their days mending fences, tending to the animals, and preparing meals together. Laughter filled the cabin, a sound Jed hadn't heard in years. He found himself looking forward to waking up each morning, eager to spend another day with the sisters. Lily and Rose also thrived in their new environment. They felt useful and appreciated, a stark contrast to the uncertainty they had faced before. They began to feel like they belonged, like they had finally found a home. The raging river had brought them together, but it was the shared work and the growing affection that was truly building a family. However, their newfound peace was about to be threatened by forces beyond their control. A storm of a different kind was brewing on the horizon, one that could tear them apart. The tranquility was shattered one afternoon by the arrival of a traveling salesman. Silas McKinley, a man with a slicked-back mustache and a too-wide smile, rode up to the ranch in a brightly painted wagon filled with an assortment of goods. He claimed to be selling everything from patent medicines to fancy ribbons, but his real purpose was far more insidious. Howdy, folks, Silas boomed, his voice carrying across the yard. Name's Silas McKinley, at your service. Got just what you need, from cough syrup to calico. Jed, Lily, and Rose emerged from the cabin, curious about the unexpected visitor. Jed, ever cautious, kept a watchful eye on Silas. There was something about the man that didn't sit right with him. After showing them a few trinkets and trying to sell them overpriced goods, Silas casually dropped a bombshell. Heard some talk in town, he said, his eyes glinting mischievously. Seems there's a bit of a land dispute brewing. Some fella named Bartholomew Blackwood is claiming your ranch. Stone says he has a deed proving it belongs to him. Jed's face hardened. That's nonsense, he said, his voice low and dangerous. This ranch has been in my family for generations. I have the deed right here. Silas shrugged. Well, that's what they're saying. Blackwood's a powerful man with deep pockets. Heard he's hired himself a fancy lawyer from the city. The news hit Jed like a punch to the gut. He knew Bartholomew Blackwood. He was a greedy, ruthless businessman who would stop at nothing to get what he wanted. The thought of losing his ranch, the only home he had ever known, filled him with dread. Silas McKinley, having delivered his unsettling message, packed up his wares and rode off, leaving a cloud of dust and a sense of foreboding in his wake. The storm may have passed, but a far greater threat was now looming over Jed's ranch and the newfound family he had found with Lily and Rose. The weight of the news settled heavily on Jed's shoulders. He paced the cabin, his brow furrowed with worry. He knew he was no match for a powerful man like Blackwood and his fancy city lawyer. Losing the ranch meant losing everything. Seeing his distress, Lily stepped forward, her eyes filled with determination. "Jed," she said, her voice firm and reassuring, "we're not going to let him take your ranch." Jed looked at her, surprised. "What can we do, Lily? Blackwood's got money and influence. We don't stand a chance." "Maybe not," Lily replied, "but we have something he doesn't. We have the truth, and we have each other." She paused, then continued. "My father was a lawyer, Jed. He taught me a lot about the law. I may not be a trained lawyer, but I know enough to fight for what's right." She reached for her worn leather-bound book, the one she had clutched so tightly during the storm. "This book is filled with legal knowledge. I've read it countless times. I know we can find something in here to help you." Jed looked at Lily, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. He had seen her intelligence and her determination. He knew she was capable of anything she set her mind to. "Are you sure, Lily?" he asked. "This could be dangerous." "I'm sure," she said, her voice unwavering. "You saved our lives, Jed. Now it's our turn to help you. We're a family now, and family sticks together." Rose nodded in agreement, her eyes shining with conviction. "We'll do whatever it takes, Jed. We won't let Blackwood win." With renewed determination, Lily opened her father's book, ready to delve into the intricacies of the law. Jed, feeling a surge of hope, knew that with Lily and Rose by his side, he might just have a chance to save his ranch. The fight was far from over, but they were ready to face it together. As Lily pored over her father's legal book, searching for any loophole or precedent that could help Jed, Rose felt a different kind of inspiration. She knew that words alone might not be enough to convince a judge or a jury. They needed something more, something visual, something that would clearly demonstrate Jed's rightful ownership of the land. "I can help too," Rose announced, grabbing her sketchbook and pencils. "I could draw maps and documents that will prove Jed's claim." Lily and Jed looked at her, intrigued. "What do you mean, Rose?" Lily asked. "I can draw a detailed map of the ranch, showing all the landmarks and boundaries," Rose explained. "I can also create copies of old documents, like land surveys and property records, to show that the ranch has been in Jed's family for generations." Jed was skeptical. "I don't know, Rose. Will that really make a difference?" "It will," Rose insisted. "People respond to visuals. If we can show them, in a clear and compelling way, that this land belongs to you, they'll be more likely to believe us." And so, while Lily researched the law, Rose set about creating her artistic masterpieces. She spent hours sketching the ranch, capturing every detail with meticulous precision. She drew the winding green river, the rolling hills, the sturdy barn, and a modest cabin that Jed called home. She even included details like the wildflowers that bloomed in the spring and the cattle that grazed peacefully in the pastures. She also painstakingly copied old documents, using her artistic skills to recreate the faded ink and the brittle paper. She added artistic flourishes to make the documents look authentic and compelling. As Rose worked, her artistic talents breathed life into their legal defense. The maps and documents she created were not just pieces of paper. They were works of art that told a story of Jed's connection to the land, a story that would resonate with anyone who saw them. Rose's creativity was proving to be just as valuable as Lily's legal knowledge. Together, the sisters were creating a powerful defense, one that combined the power of law and the beauty of art. Bartholomew Blackwood was a man consumed by greed. He saw the potential of Jed's land, its fertile soil and access to the Green River, and he wanted it for himself. He envisioned building a grand estate, a symbol of his wealth and power, right where Jed's modest ranch stood. He didn't care about the history of the land or the people who called it home. All he cared about was profit. He arrived in Harmony Gulch with an entourage of lawyers and hired hands, a stark contrast to Jed's quiet, unassuming presence. He swaggered through the town, spreading his money around and trying to buy the support of the townspeople. He underestimated the loyalty and respect that Jed had earned over the years. Blackwood's lawyer, a slick city slicker named Mr. Thornton, filed a lawsuit, claiming that Blackwood possessed a valid deed to the land, a deed that Jed knew was fraudulent. Blackwood and Thornton tried every trick in the book to intimidate Jed and the sisters, spreading rumors and even resorting to veiled threats. They offered Jed a paltry sum for the ranch, an amount that was far below its true value. When Jed refused, Blackwood's true colors began to show. He became more aggressive, using his influence to try and turn the townspeople against Jed. He even tried to sabotage Jed's ranch, damaging his fences and poisoning his well. But Jed, with the unwavering support of Lily and Rose, refused to be intimidated. They stood their ground, determined to fight for what was rightfully theirs. They knew that Blackwood was a formidable opponent, but they were not afraid. They had each other, and they had the truth on their side. The battle lines were drawn, and the stage was set for a showdown in the Harmony Gulch courthouse. The fate of Jed's ranch and their newfound family hung in the balance. The Harmony Gulch courthouse was packed. The air was thick with anticipation as the townspeople gathered to witness the showdown between Jed Stone and Bartholomew Blackwood. Jed sat beside Lily and Rose, his face etched with a mixture of anxiety and determination. He trusted Lily, but he knew that Blackwood's lawyer, Mr. Thornton, was a formidable opponent. Mr. Thornton presented Blackwood's case with slick confidence, waving around what he claimed was a valid deed to the land. He painted Jed as an uneducated squatter, trying to illegally hold on a land that rightfully belonged to Blackwood. Then it was Lily's turn. She stood tall and faced the judge, her voice clear and steady. She presented Jed's case with passion and intelligence, citing legal precedents and challenging the authenticity of Blackwood's deed. She argued that Jed's family had owned the land for generations, and that Blackwood's claim was based on nothing more than greed. The turning point came when Lily presented Rose's maps. She unfurled the large, detailed map of the ranch, showing all the landmarks and boundaries. She pointed out the historical significance of the land, the location of old family graves, and the improvements that Jed and his ancestors had made over the years. Rose's artistic documents were equally compelling. She presented the meticulously copied land surveys and property records, each one a testament to Jed's family's long-standing ownership of the ranch. The judge and the townspeople were captivated by the beauty and detail of Rose's artwork. Mr. Thornton tried to discredit Rose's maps, calling them mere drawings, but Lily skillfully countered his arguments, explaining how Rose's artwork provided visual evidence that supported their legal claims. The courtroom was silent, everyone hanging on Lily's every word. The tension was palpable, the outcome uncertain. The fate of Jed's ranch rested on Lily's ability to convince the judge that Jed was the rightful owner. Throughout the trial, Jed, Lily, and Rose worked together seamlessly. Jed, though not a man of many words, provided unwavering support for Lily, trusting her judgment and offering quiet encouragement. He answered questions honestly and respectfully, his integrity shining through. Lily, with her sharp mind and legal knowledge, masterfully presented their case, dismantling Mr. Thornton's arguments with skill and precision. She spoke with passion and conviction, her words resonating with the townspeople who had come to respect Jed and admire her courage. Rose, with her artistic talent, added a layer of beauty and emotion to their defense. Her maps and documents were not just evidence. They were works of art that told a story of Jed's deep connection to the land. They spoke volumes about his history and his heritage. The townspeople watched in awe as the three of them worked together, each using their unique talents to fight for what was right. They were impressed by their teamwork, their determination, and their unwavering loyalty to each other. Even Old Man Hemlock, who rarely spoke to anyone, was seen nodding in approval. He recognized the strength of their bond and the sincerity of their efforts. The townsfolk began to whisper amongst themselves, sharing stories of Jed's kindness and honesty, and marveling at the intelligence and courage of the two sisters. They started to see that this was not just a land dispute. It was a battle between good and evil, between a hardworking rancher and a greedy businessman who was trying to steal what was rightfully his. Their respect for Jed grew, and they silently pledged their support. Blackwood, witnessing the growing support for Jed, Lily, and Rose, grew increasingly frustrated. He realized that his money and influence were not enough to sway the townspeople, who were now firmly on Jed's side. He knew that the tide was turning, and that the outcome of the trial was far from certain. After days of tense testimony and impassioned arguments, the moment of truth arrived. The judge, a stern but fair man named Judge Thompson, rose to deliver his verdict. The courtroom was silent, every eye fixed on him. After carefully considering all the evidence presented, Judge Thompson began, his voice resonating through the room. This court finds in favor of the defendant, Jedediah Stone. A collective gasp of relief swept through the courtroom. Jed, Lily, and Rose exchanged joyful glances, their faces beaming with happiness. The townspeople erupted in applause, celebrating the victory of good over evil. Judge Thompson continued. The evidence presented by Mr. Blackwood's lawyer was circumstantial and lacked credibility. On the other hand, the evidence presented by Miss Lily, particularly the maps and documents created by Miss Rose, clearly demonstrates Mr. Stone's long-standing ownership of the land. He paused, then added, "Furthermore, this court has taken into account the character and reputation of Mr. Stone. He is known throughout this community as an honest and hardworking man, a man of integrity. It is clear that Mr. Blackwood's claim is nothing more than a blatant attempt to steal what rightfully belongs to Mr. Stone." Blackwood, his face contorted with rage, stormed out of the courtroom, followed by his disgruntled lawyer. The townspeople cheered as Jed, Lily, and Rose emerged from the courthouse, victorious. They had won, not just because of Lily's legal skills and Rose's artistic talent, but also because of Jed's honest reputation and the unwavering support of the community. Their teamwork and determination had paid off. They had saved Jed's ranch, and in doing so, they had strengthened their bond and solidified their newfound family. The victory was sweet, but their ordeal was not yet over. Blackwood was not one to give up easily. True to his nature, Bartholomew Blackwood refused to accept defeat. He lingered in Harmony Gulch, determined to make life miserable for Jed, Lily, and Rose. He spread false rumors about them, trying to damage their reputation and turn the townspeople against them. He even hired thugs to harass them, hoping to intimidate them into leaving. But Blackwood underestimated the strength of the community and the deep respect they had for Jed and the sisters. The townspeople had witnessed Blackwood's greed and dishonesty firsthand, and they were not about to let him get away with his underhanded tactics. When Blackwood's thugs tried to vandalize Jed's ranch, the townspeople intervened, chasing them away and repairing the damage themselves. When Blackwood spread false rumors about Lily and Rose, the women of Harmony Gulch rallied to their defense, praising their intelligence, their kindness, and their unwavering support for Jed. Even Old Man Hemlock, who had always been a recluse, emerged from his cabin to voice his support for Jed and the sisters. He reminded the townspeople of Jed's countless acts of kindness and his unwavering honesty. His words carried weight, and they further solidified the community's support for Jed, Lily, and Rose. Blackwood was stunned. He had never encountered such unity and determination. He realized that he was fighting a losing battle. The townspeople were not afraid of him, and they were not going to let him bully Jed and the sisters. One morning, Blackwood and his entourage packed up their belongings and left Harmony Gulch, defeated and humiliated. The townspeople cheered as they rode away, celebrating their victory over greed and corruption. The community had stood up for what was right, and they had prevailed. Jed, Lily, and Rose had not only saved the ranch, but they had also united the town and strengthened the bonds of community. Their ordeal had brought them closer together, and they were now more than just a family. They were a symbol of hope and resilience for the entire town of Harmony Gulch. With Blackwood gone and the ranch safe, a sense of peace settled over Harmony Gulch. As the days turned into weeks, Jed found himself increasingly drawn to Lily. He admired her intelligence, her strength, and her unwavering determination. He realized that he had fallen in love with her. He noticed the way she smiled when she looked at him, the way she always knew what to say to make him feel better, the way she cared for him and his ranch as if it were her own. He knew that she was special, and he couldn't imagine his life without her. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Jed turned to Lily, his heart pounding in his chest. "Lily," he said, his voice a little shaky, "I need to tell you something." Lily looked at him, her eyes filled with warmth and affection. "What is it, Jed?" He hesitated, struggling to find the right words. "I've fallen in love with you, Lily. I know it might seem sudden, but ever since I rescued you and Rose from the river, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. You're the most amazing woman I've ever met." Lily's eyes widened in surprise, and a blush crept up her cheeks. "Oh, Jed," she whispered. "Do you feel the same way?" he asked, his voice filled with hope and apprehension. Lily smiled, a radiant, heart-stopping smile. "Yes, Jed," she said. "Dull. I've fallen in love with you, too. You're the kindest, bravest, and most honest man I've ever known. I can't imagine my life without you." Jed's face lit up with joy. He reached for Lily's hand, and she squeezed it tightly. They sat in silence for a moment, gazing into each other's eyes, their hearts overflowing with love. The raging river had brought them together, and now their love was blossoming, promising a future filled with happiness and companionship. The long-awaited connection he yearned for had finally come to fruition. A few weeks later, under the vast, starlit sky, Jed led Lily to their favorite spot on the ranch, a small hill overlooking the Green River. He had something important to ask her, something that would change their lives forever. He got down on one knee, his heart pounding with anticipation. He held out a small, hand-carved wooden box, inside of which lay a simple but beautiful ring made of braided horsehair. "Lily," he said, his voice filled with love and emotion, "will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" Lily gasped, tears welling up in her eyes. She nodded, unable to speak. "Yes, Jed," she finally managed to whisper. "Yes, with all my heart." Jed slipped the ring onto her finger, and they embraced, their love shining brighter than the stars above. They knew that their life together would not always be easy, but they were ready to face whatever challenges came their way, as long as they had each other. Later that evening, they shared their news with Rose. Rose was overjoyed. She had always wanted a family, and now she had found one with Jed and Lily. "I'm so happy for you both," she said, hugging them tightly. "You're perfect for each other, and I'm so glad to have found a home here with you." "Your family, Rose," Jed said, his voice filled with warmth. "We're all family now. I give you my blessing," Rose said, smiling. "You deserve all the happiness in the world." With Rose's blessing, Jed and Lily began to plan their wedding. They knew they wanted a simple ceremony, surrounded by the people they loved. They also knew that they wanted Rose to play a special role in their wedding, a way to show her how much they appreciated her and how much they loved her. The wedding would not only be a celebration of Jed and Lily's love, but also a testament to the strength and resilience of their newfound family. The entire town of Harmony Gulch pitched in to help with the wedding. The women baked cakes and pies, sewed dresses and decorations, and gathered wildflowers to adorn the church. The men built tables and chairs, strung lanterns, and prepared a feast fit for a king. Even Old Man Hemlock contributed, offering a bottle of his finest moonshine for the celebration. Rose, with her artistic talent, designed the invitations and decorated the wedding cake. She also created a beautiful portrait of Jed and Lily, which they would cherish for years to come. She felt immense pride in being a part of their special day and poured her heart and soul into making it perfect. The wedding day dawned bright and sunny, a perfect day for a celebration of love and new beginnings. The church was filled with townspeople, all eager to witness Jed and Lily's union. Lily, radiant in a simple white dress made by the women of the town, walked down the aisle, her eyes fixed on Jed. Jed stood at the altar, his heart swelling with love and happiness. He had never imagined that he would find such joy and fulfillment in his life. Rose stood beside Lily as her maid of honor, her eyes sparkling with tears of happiness. She knew that Lily had found her soulmate in Jed, and she was grateful to have them both in her life. The ceremony was simple but heartfelt. Jed and Lily exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other for all eternity. They exchanged rings, symbols of their unending love and commitment. As they were pronounced husband and wife, the church erupted in applause. The townspeople celebrated with gusto, their hearts filled with joy for Jed and Lily. The reception was held outside, under a canopy of stars. The townspeople feasted on delicious food, danced to lively music, and shared stories and laughter. It was a heartwarming celebration, a testament to the power of love, community, and the bonds of family. And so, Jed, Lily, and Rose began their new life together on the ranch. Lily quickly adapted to ranch life, learning to tend to the animals, mend fences, and even ride a horse with skill and confidence. She also used her legal knowledge to help other ranchers in the area, becoming a trusted advisor and advocate for the community. Rose, with her artistic spirit, transformed the ranch into a haven of beauty. She planted a garden filled with colorful flowers, painted murals on the barn walls, and created stunning portraits of Jed and Lily that captured their love and happiness. She also began teaching art classes to the children of Harmony Gulch, sharing her passion and inspiring a new generation of artists. Jed, with Lily and Rose by his side, found a joy and fulfillment he had never known before. He was no longer a solitary rancher. He was a husband, a brother, and a friend. He cherished his newfound family and worked hard to provide for them, ensuring that they had everything they needed to thrive. Their ranch became a symbol of hope and resilience for the entire community. It was a place where people could come together, share stories, and find support. It was a testament to the power of love, courage, and the bonds of family. The raging river that had once threatened to destroy their lives had ultimately brought them together, forging a bond that could never be broken. The shared courage they had displayed in the face of adversity had transformed them into a family that was forever bound by their love, their loyalty, and their unwavering commitment to each other. Years passed, filled with laughter, love, and shared adventures. Jed, Lily, and Rose lived a long and happy life on the ranch, surrounded by their family and friends. They were forever grateful for the raging river that had changed their lives forever, bringing them together and creating a family that was stronger than any storm. Their story became a legend in Harmony Gulch, a tale of love, courage, and the enduring power of the human spirit.